Alright, today we're going to be talking about knives. I get a whole lot of questions about what kind of knife I've got on my side in a lot of the videos that we do. And I try my best to answer them as often as I can. A lot of times I don't remember what I had on. I have to go back and look at the video, or I have to try to think back to the video to see what it was. I've got such a pile of them. It's kind of ridiculous to have this many knives, but I've collected them over quite a few years. We also get a lot of questions about wanting to do a knife video, and I did one of these, I don't know, some time ago, a year or two ago. I can't remember which, and had intended to do another one, and just never got it done until today, so that's what we're going to do today. And let me get the camera readjusted and we'll go through some of these. Okay, first off, we've got a Knives of Alaska bush camp knife, it's called. It's a pretty big knife. Some of the knives I've got are a little bigger than than I are comfortable carrying anyway. Sometimes I like them, sometimes I just think they're too big, and I put them up and opt for something smaller. But I always like this knife for some reason. After I bought it, it's got a really good feel to it. It's a full tang knife, kind of a long blade. It's about a 6-inch blade. It's D2 steel. It's a really good knife. I've done just about everything you can think of in the woods to do with this knife. Fire starting, skinning, just whatever. I mean, it's a really good, strong, kind of a bomb-proof type of thing. I'm not real excited about the handle on this. A lot of people like that rubberized handle, and it's okay, but I tend to prefer a smoother handle without all these finger grooves. I don't much like those. If you a whole lot of hard use with this, and it might cause a few hot spots or blisters on you, or sore places on your hands, but I generally don't use one that hard anyway. I'm kind of careful with them. I don't beat on them, and I don't baton with them like you see a lot of people, a lot of videos. I mean, I like having one that I could do that with if it was needed, but I generally don't do that just because it's not really needful. I've got axes and things for that. But this is a really good knife, really strong bladed knife, and I kind of like it, so I hang on to it. And these next two here are WC knives, and if you're not familiar with him, William Collins is his name, and he's a knife maker from Texas, and he makes some really high quality knives. This is the first one of his that I ended up with, and I really like that knife. It's kind of like, once again, kind of a long bladed knife, and I generally, always in the past growing up, I've always used a shorter bladed knife, but for some reason this one, I really like this, and it's just got a good feel in the hand. It's kind of got the Coke bottle shaped scales on it. They're micarta scales, and this is a Nitro V steel, which is a stainless steel, pretty high quality stainless steel. And the thing about his knives, I mean, his workmanship is top notch. He does a really good job. But I don't know if it's the steel or if it's his heat treatment or whatever he does. I don't know, but these knives hold an edge so long, especially the way I use a knife. Once again, I don't beat and frail on one much, but I've never had knives that would hold an edge as long as these do, and I mean a really good, keen shaving edge, even after quite a bit of use. This particular knife is I think it's called a Master Woodsman Skinner, and that's what I use it for, skinning, cutting up deer meat and that sort of thing, and it just does a fantastic job of that. And every time anytime I've got deer meat, this usually stays in my pack, and if there's any skinning to do, this is what does it. And this next one is also a WC knife, and this one is a Blackbird. Once again, just a fantastically built knife. Really, this one's actually even a little thicker. If you can see that on the camera, I don't know. Fairly heavy knife. This one would do just about anything you wanted to do, I would imagine. Holds an edge just like the other one does. It's just unbelievable how long these things stay really sharp. I bought this one a couple of years after the first one. It's quite a long waiting period to get it, but it's a really good knife. I don't carry it as often as I did when I first got it, but it's also a great knife, and it has a what's called a 6-way sheath, made by Stitch Gear Outfitters, I think it's called. Really heavy built, real heavy, thick sheath, and you can wire this in multiple different configurations. You can use it as a dangler. You can wire it, make it kind of ride kind of high on your hip. You can wire it as like a scout carry that's horizontal. Just a really well made sheath as well, and it's made for this knife. This next one is a Mora. This is a Mora Pathfinder. I've got quite a few Mora knives. That's kind of how I started out when I began buying, and kind of got into buying knives and checking out different styles of knives. This is where I started, just simply because of the cost. They're somewhat cheaper. Although this one's a little more expensive than a lot of them, but it's a really high quality, good high carbon steel blade. It's a little long for my liking. Once I got it, it's a little bit long to carry all the time, but it stays razor sharp, and it takes quite a bit of abuse. Once again, I don't abuse one a whole lot, but it's got a rubber overmolded handle that is really comfortable. I really like the handle on this knife. Very well made knife. Moras are known for being well made, high quality knives at a lower cost, and this one, although it's a little more expensive than a lot of them, it's still a very well made knife. Alright, next up we have another Mora, and it's a Bushcraft Black, it's called, and it's made just like the Pathfinder that we just looked at. Same handle, same blade material, and same blade profile, but it's just a little bit shorter and a little bit narrower. And I've carried this knife a whole lot. I really like the feel of this knife. I carry it pretty regularly. I'm pretty bad to wear one for a week or 6 or 8 or 10 days, and then get kind of tired of that one, and I'll dig around, find another one that I'll put on, wear it for a while, and go through several of them, and then go back to the beginning and start over again. I don't know why that is, but that's kind of the way I do things. It's kind of, can't explain it exactly. It's just the way I am, I guess. But this is not a full tang knife. It's like a 3/4 tang, but it's made really strong, really good steel. Holds an edge a while, fairly easy to sharpen, and I carry it pretty often. The difference between it and the Pathfinder, you can see it's exactly the same handle, just a little longer, a little thicker blade. This knife is a Tops brand knife. This is a Tops Tannin Boca, I think it's called, a little Puko knife. And I can remember, vaguely remember ordering this knife or buying it. I can't remember why. I think it was because it was such a short blade and it had a real high, almost like a saber grind to it, and I tend to like that a little better. I actually like a flat grind for the most part. I mean, I don't have very many of them, but I tend to like those better. But this one is similar to that with its really high saber grind, and it's a good carbon steel, 1095 carbon steel knife. I've carried it off and on for 5 or 6 years. It'll do skinning and cutting up meat and just about anything you want to do, you know, within reason for its size. But it's a fairly small knife, and it carries kind of easy to carry on your hip, and you don't really know it's there. These next two are made by the same knife maker, Justin Peden, from Spirit of the Outdoors, and he has a YouTube channel. Some of y'all may have seen him or may have watched him, and he makes knives. He makes fantastic knives, and these are, I believe, saw blade knives. And these are kind of an older style, like a French trade knife type of design, in which I really, really like. I don't know what it is, if it's just most everything else I like that's, you know, old or old design, you know, like muzzleloaders and that sort of thing. I guess that's why I'm kind of drawn to these, but I really do like these knives. I got this one first from him, and I actually, I don't guess he knows this, but I was watching a video, or I didn't know it at the time. I was watching a video, a different video he was doing, and actually saw this knife laying on his workbench and wondered if it was the one he was building for me, and come find out it was, because it's kind of different than a lot of the ones. He laminated 2 different kinds of wood together there. I don't remember what they were, but I remember him saying that in the video, and then when I got the knife, there it was, and I thought, well, I told my girls that's the one he was talking about in that video we were watching. So it's really cool. Really good made knife. It's good steel, and he also makes the sheaths. It's held up really, really well. This one that he sent, he actually sent this one to me just as a kind of a prototype of a different kind of steel that he was experimenting with, and it's a little smaller knife, and boy, I really like this knife. It's got a good feel, and it's that same old trade knife design. I've actually done a couple of deer with this knife, and I was supposed to get back to him and kind of, you know, tell him what I thought of it, since it was kind of a new steel to him, and I don't remember if I did that or not, and if I didn't, I need to. But he's a really, really good guy. Has a great channel. Builds good knives. I love to watch all his content. If y'all hadn't seen him, you need to check him out. It's Spirit of the Outdoors. Really great guy. Okay, next one, is another Mora. Everybody knows about these, or most everybody does. This is the old standby, the old Mora Companion. Carried this knife a whole lot. These are, for the money, for what they cost and what they'll do, they're hard to beat. This is at the time, this was a $20-$25 knife, and I think they're probably still around about that same price, if not just barely a little bit more. These are fantastic knives. You can buy 2 or 3 of these and keep them in different places, different packs or whatever. But this one, once again, has seen a whole lot of use. Skinned quite a few deer, cut up deer meat with them. Lots of garden work. Just about anything you can think of I've done with this. And these, for their price, have such a really good ergonomic handle on them, and that's what most people like about them, I think, is number one, the price, but they just have just a little bit of a little palm swell in them that they feel they're just really great feeling knives for what they cost. And this next one is a Condor. Yeah, Condor bush lower. I used to carry this knife a whole lot. I don't that much anymore. I mean, I still, of course, I like it. I like all my knives. I don't know. I just don't tend to carry it as much. It's a really good knife. It don't hold an edge to me as long as some of these other ones, and I think maybe that's why I don't carry it as often. I mean, it's easy to sharpen, but for whatever reason, I just don't carry it as often as I used to. But it's a really good knife, and it has a good feeling handle with the little palm swell in it as well. These are really good knives. And then this one is a Green River or Russell Green River knife, and this was sent to me by Uncle Sasquatch. I don't know how many of y'all have seen his channel. Another fantastic guy, and he just sent me this as a gift. I think this possibly was best I can remember, was a knife blank, and he put the handles on it. Fantastic little knife. I love Green River knives, or D.H. Russell knives, I think, or maybe just Russell knives. I can't remember how all that goes together, but I use this as kind of a patch knife, and I think that's how he sent it to me to use that way when I'm shooting old muzzleloaders and stuff. It holds a wicked edge, and it's sized right, and I just keep it kind of in a sheath that I wear kind of as a neck knife. And I generally don't wear neck knives, but I do a lot when I'm shooting an old black powder gun or a flintlock or whatever. I usually carry this around my neck just so I can get to it quick if I need to cut a patch or whatever I need to do. These are fantastic little knives, and they're quite inexpensive. Once again, I think these are all over eBay or maybe even Amazon. I don't know. I've not looked, but I know they're on eBay. I've seen them. But Uncle Sasquatch sent that to me as a gift, and I'm very appreciative, and I thank him a whole lot. And he has a channel mostly about muzzleloading and black powder, and anytime I've got a question or wonder what I'm doing, that's who I go and search out his videos, and I usually find the answer because he's kind of the go-to guy to me anyway. I'm sure he is to a lot of other people too. Just a great guy, great channel. Need to check him out. Alright, this last belt knife that I'm going to show you is actually one I've got on my hip right now, and you're probably going to laugh at me, but here we go. This is an old hickory butcher knife that I cut down some years ago and made, kind of into a Kephart style knife. Very inexpensive knife. I mean, this is probably the cheapest knife I own, but for some reason I really do enjoy carrying and using this knife. It started out as like a 7-inch long butcher knife, and I've got 2 or 3 of them too that's unaltered, but I cut this one down shorter and made a kind of a spear point out of it, kind of like the Kephart knives are, and I kind of sanded and tapered down the scales a little bit to make it a little bit more ergonomic. But I really like this knife, and it's just like I say, it's the cheapest thing I've got. Old hickory, the steel in old hickories, I'm not exactly sure what it is. I think it's probably 1095, but it's just fantastic steel, easy to sharpen, holds an edge for a long time, and I don't know, just this size and style of knife just suits me, and I guess I kind of like it that I kind of personalized it to myself and made it my own. And that may be why I like to carry it so much. I don't know, but there's lots and lots of videos online about modifying old hickory knives. But this is just one of the ones that I done, and I really do like carrying it. And I've got a couple of folding knives here. I always carry one of those as well. Never leave home without them. For years and years I carried the old, and I still do on occasion, or quite a bit actually, the old case trappers. This one is a, just a carbon steel, probably a fake bone handled, like a jig bone or whatever that's called, handle knife. You used to be able to get these for 20-25 bucks each. I think they're probably, I think this one was twice that, and more anymore. I mean, they're just, they've gone up in price. But these are just, for a pocket knife, these are hard to beat. They're just, I've carried one of these like this for many years. Also another case. This is a case hunter, and once again, just a really good knife. I usually don't carry this one on my belt or in my pocket because of the size of it, but it's always in my pack when I'm in the woods. Always, anything. I always carry a secondary knife, and a lot of times 3 or 4. Always one on me and always one in my pocket. But I've always got 1 or 2 in my pack as well. Can't never have enough knives. I had one of these when I was young, and I don't know where I got it, and I don't know where it went. I'd like to have it back because it's one of the old stock old knives. This one is not. This one's fairly new. I had to look online for quite a while to find one that was carbon steel. And I've got a few knives that are stainless, so I just prefer the carbon. That's just my personal preference. But a lot of them anymore are stainless steel, and a lot of them, a lot of the folding knives are made out of stainless steel that's not good quality, and they're really hard to sharpen, and they won't hold an edge. And I don't have the temperament to fool with that. It makes me kind of angry. I like a knife that'll, that I can whip an edge on and it'll stay a while. But these case hunters are fantastic knives. And I generally carry 2 in SAK in the pack. These Swiss Army knives there's all kinds of different models of them, different that have different configurations, different tools on them. I got this one mostly because it has a folding saw in it, and it's a really good little folding saw. People might think you wouldn't use that very much, but I have. It's extremely sharp and stays that way. Cutting small twigs, if you're building a fire to cook over or whatever, and you need some little small twigs for toggles or whatever, it just does the job so well, and you can just pull it out of your pocket or out of your top of your pack or whatever, and just in a minute and have something sawed up. So I kind of like that. And it also has a couple of screwdrivers, has an awl on it as well, and I like that. That's why I chose this model, because it actually has an awl where you can drill holes with it if needed, or punch holes in the leather, whatever you need. And it also has, another reason that I got this particular one is because it has a set of tweezers in it. Some people may not know the importance of, or how useful a set of tweezers are in the woods, but they are, from splinters to whatever. But tweezers are a really fantastic thing to have. They have so many uses, and that's why I actually bought this particular model of knife. And then as far as sharpening goes, I get those questions a whole lot. Now there's lots of high-end sharpening stones to be had, and I'm sure they work great. I've never used them, but I'm sure they work really good. I'm not saying anything at all bad about them, but what I use is these DMT sharpeners, and you can get these Amazon or eBay or wherever, and they are double-sided, each one of them. They have a different grit according to the color in each one of them, so each sharpener has 2 different grits in it, and they just fold into this little plastic sheath to kind of keep them covered up. And for my use, I found out they work really, really well. And this is how I sharpen all my knives, and I have for probably 8 or 10 years. This is what I've used, and I like them because they're thin and small. You can throw them in your pack or throw them, you know, if you go on a trip or whatever. I usually, if I go somewhere, I usually throw these in something that I'm taking with me, so I'll be able to keep my knife sharp in case I need to. And then I also have a leather strop that's got one side that's got compound on it, and the other side's just leather. And this is what is this stuff? This is called Formax stropping compound, and it's just the green stropping compound for lapping and honing, it says, and microfine cutting edge is what that's for. And I believe somebody sent this to me. I'm not certain, but I think they did some years ago. And this is all I use it for, is just to keep on this strop. So you can see how much I've used. Almost, you know, it's almost like it's not been used any. But that's all I do with it is use it to keep the compound on this strop just to do my knives with. So there's just a few of the knives that I have. I know it's kind of crazy to have that many, and believe it or not, I do have more. These are the ones that kind of get put into the rotation more often than some of the other ones. Well, I get a lot of questions about what kind of knife I have on, and we also get a lot of questions about, somebody will want to know what kind of knife do I recommend that they have. And first and foremost, I'm not a knife expert by any means at all. I have carried one all my life long, and I know what works for me, and I know what I look for in a knife. But that's, you know, about as far as it goes as far as having any expert opinion about it. I don't have one. I just like to carry. I know what I like in a knife, and that's what I look for when I'm trying, you know, if I'm in the market for one, and that's what I look for. A lot of these knives are a little bigger than what I really have use for, even though I still do like them quite well. I generally like I think, to me, more useful knife length is a 4 or 5 inch max length on a knife blade is plenty for my own use. Some of the longer ones that are there, a lot of times will get used in the kitchen or get thrown in a kitchen drawer and used that way. And then, you know, them being longer, they work fine for that. But as far as carrying one, for my own use, I like one that's, you know, 4 to 5 inches long. I think is plenty big enough. So I hope that answers some of the questions some of the people had about the knives. And like I said, I do have a few more. If you'd like to see another video on it, just leave it in the comments. And as always, thank you for stopping by to help us celebrate Appalachia.